In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to deal with very harsh highlights. Of course, it's better to take a photo and not have those highlights, but sometimes these things happen, and if you need to deal with them, there is a way to do it. So I'm going to show you how. So the first thing we're going to do is target the highlights overall. So we're going to open a curves layer, make sure the mask is still selected, go to Image and come down to Apply Image. Make sure the blending mode is set to multiply. That will make the highlights darker, so click OK. And you see now what that's done to our mask. So now we're going to open our curves layer again. We're going to choose an area in our highlights and we're going to just pull that down. And you see the effect that has? It pulls the whole image down. It makes it darker, but it's mainly affecting the highlights. Now we're going to use our mask again. Make sure that you've got a brush 100% opacity with black. And now we're going to block out any areas that we don't want this effect to show on. So here I'm trying to literally block out the darkest areas and her face, because I want her face to be quite bright. What I'm trying to do here with this layer is to even out the highlights and the shadows. So I'm bringing the highlights down, but now I'm blocking out the darkest areas so that they don't go down, they come up. That way we're reducing the contrast in the image and we're evening out the highlights and the shadows. Do you see what a difference that one layer has made? So now you can play a bit further. If you open the curves layer again, now you can see what parts of your image are being affected. And now just have a play around with the curve and get it to the point that you like it. There's no hard science for this, it's just a case of looking at the picture, playing with the curve and seeing the effect. So can you see now when we look at the before and after, it's only really the brightest highlights that are really getting affected here. If you feel you need to, you can do exactly the same step again. So get another curves layer, make sure your mask is selected, do Image, Apply Image, make sure your blending mode is multiply and press OK. Then you can play with your curve again. Let's just duplicate our layer mask so we don't have to redraw it, so just hold Option and drag your bottom layer onto the top layer. And then that's just repeated the mask so we don't have to do all the masking again. You can then play with the opacity if you feel you need to and bring it down. I think on this image one layer was enough, to be honest. I don't think it needs a second layer. But I'm just showing you what you can do if you feel you need to build up the layers. As always, I prefer to build up my layers, do it in little steps and add to it. But I'm going to delete that top one because I don't think I need it. I'm happy with the first one. So I hope that shows you how you can deal with overall highlights and just bring them down a little bit and just get rid of that very harsh highlight and shadow look in your images. So let's flatten our image and now let's have a look at her hand. This specific area is really distracting for me. I hate that line. It draws my eye away from her beautiful face to this line on her hand and this triangle. So as my next step, I want to deal with that specific area. So I'm going to duplicate my layer. I'm going to take the clone stamp. I prefer to do it at a low opacity and build it up. So I'm going to sample the darker colour and I'm just going to start blending these two areas into each other. So I'm doing lots of clicks with a low opacity just to create a graduation between the dark and light colour. At the moment I'm using the dark layer, but then I'm going to take a sample of the light layer and bring the light layer into the dark area as well. I'm not being too accurate, I'm not going to leave it like this is just the first step. But as you can see, that's therefore got rid of that very harsh line. I'm then going to open a curves layer. I'm going to use this tool to sample the light area. It's going to be way too dark initially, but we're going to correct that in a minute. So I'm going to invert my mask to black, get a white brush on 100% And now I'm going to just draw over the areas where I want that change to show. Do it more accurately than me, I'm just doing it quite quickly. Now reopen the curves, and now we can see where the change is showing. Just play around with the curve a little bit and get it to the point where it looks nice. I think about there is fine. So that's before and after. So if we look at what we've done so far, we've deleted that horrible line, and now we've brought that highlight down a bit. I would always suggest as well zooming out sometimes. So now taking a brush, take a sample of that dark colour and just draw over that area, because that sun is really casting a yellow tint to that area, and I want it to look more like her skin colour, which is much redder. But now change the blending mode to colour, and you see that's brought those two areas much more into one colour family now. I'm going to then add yet another layer, but this time on a low opacity, maybe around 10%, and in normal blending mode. And I'm just going to again sample that red colour and then just draw over the skin. And here I'm just trying to blend the two areas further together. And I'm building up the layers. You know, I'm painting at 10%, so it's really low opacity, but if I just build it up a little bit over that join, hopefully we're creating a better blend between those two areas. Hopefully we're creating a better blend between those two areas. Here I'm not trying to completely delete the highlight. I like that highlight, but I just don't want it to be so distracting. So if we zoom out now, so we put those in a group and we look at what we had before and after. I think that's a lot better. If you wanted to, you could then come in and work further on it, but for me, that's good enough. I will be putting a behind the scenes video from this shoot, so please do watch that, and do let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this video and if there's anything you want to see on my channel. And if you haven't done so already, please do subscribe. Thanks very much for watching. Bye bye.